All right, today we're diving into something huge, the EU's brand new AI Act. And we're not just scratching the surface, we're going straight to the heart of it, to the most debated part, Article 5. This is where the EU basically says, nope, not on our watch, and draws a hard line on AI practices that are considered just too dangerous to ever be allowed.
So let's get right into it. We're going to explore exactly which AI practices Europe has put on the banned list, how these rules even came to be, and most importantly, why this matters for every single one of us, no matter where you are in the world. Because believe me, these rules are going to have a ripple effect everywhere.
First up, the prohibited AI practices. Let's look at what Europe deems completely unacceptable. This is the real core of the Act, where the law draws that hard line against AI that's seen as a major threat to our rights and our values. So take a look at this list. The Act doesn't just put up guardrails, it builds a wall. It outright bans whole categories of AI. We're talking about stuff like subliminal techniques that mess with your decision-making, exploiting people's vulnerabilities, even scraping the entire internet for faces to build databases. This is a total no-go zone, and it's all about preventing what the law calls significant harm.
Okay, one of the big ones you've probably heard about is social scoring. Now, the Act is very specific here. It bans systems run by public authorities that judge you based on your social behavior or personal traits, especially if that score leads to some really unfair treatment. Imagine, for a second, being denied a loan or public services just because of who you're friends with on social media. That's the kind of thing this rule is designed to stop.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. The law has to walk this super fine line between manipulation and, well, just regular old persuasion. So what's the difference? It all comes down to a key phrase. Does the AI appreciably impair your ability to make an informed choice? Think about it. A normal ad might try to convince you to buy something. That's persuasion. But what if an AI uses sneaky dark patterns to trick you into signing up for something you never wanted? That's manipulation. And if it causes you real harm, it's banned. Period.
All right, let's talk about the evolution of the law, how we went from the initial proposal to the final act. Because, these rules didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They are the result of years, and I mean years of back and forth and intense debate.
This timeline really shows you the whole journey. Back in 2021, the first draft was, frankly, a lot tamer. But then the European Parliament got involved, and they really pushed to expand the list of what's banned. They were the ones who said, hey, what about untargeted scraping of faces? What about emotion recognition in schools and workplaces? And because of that push, the final version we have today is much, much stricter.
Okay, now for what might be the most controversial part of this entire law, real-time biometric identification. We're talking about things like live facial recognition being used in public spaces. This was a huge point of contention.
So you might be thinking, okay, so it's banned, right? Well, the default answer is yes, it is. It's generally prohibited. But, and this is a big but, are there any exceptions? Can law enforcement ever use this stuff? The law says yes, but only in a very, very small number of very specific situations.
So it's not allowed unless it is strictly necessary for one of these three reasons. We're talking about searching for a victim of a really serious crime like kidnapping, preventing an imminent terrorist attack, or identifying a suspect for a major crime. And even then, it's not like they can just flip a switch. No way. They need to get permission from a judge or another independent authority before they do anything, just to make sure it's absolutely justified.
And what exactly is a serious crime in this context? Well, the lawmakers actually put a number on it. The crime has to be punishable by at least 4 years in prison. You can just imagine the debates that went on to land on that specific number, but 4 years ended up being the magic threshold.
Okay, let's take a quick detour to explain some key concepts. To really get what this law is about, we need to understand the legal language they're using.
So you'll hear the term significant harm a lot, but what does it actually mean? Well, the law is smart about this. It doesn't give a super rigid definition. It's left flexible on purpose. Why? Because harm isn't just a broken bone. It can be a huge financial loss. It could be your reputation getting destroyed, or it could even be getting excluded from society. It's all about context.
Okay, check out this table. There's this interesting little exception for biometric categorization called the ancillary feature exception. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Think about a virtual try-on for glasses online. The AI scans your face, but its only job, its ancillary job, is to show you how the glasses look. That's allowed. What's not allowed is if that same system was also trying to figure out your ethnicity or your emotions to sell you other stuff. That's its primary function then, and that's a no-go.
So what's the big idea behind all of this? Let's talk about human oversight and rights. Because really, every single one of these rules boils down to one core principle: keeping people in control.
This right here, this quote, says it all. Decisions on real-time biometric identification cannot be taken solely based on the output of an AI system. It's the ultimate human-in-the-loop rule. Even in those super rare emergency situations we talked about, the final call cannot be made by a machine. A person has to be the one to make that critical decision, always.
At the end of the day, these bans aren't just a bunch of technical regulations. You should think of them as a firewall. A firewall built to protect our most basic, fundamental rights. Things like your right to privacy, your freedom of expression, your right not to be discriminated against, and just basic human dignity. And if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. Final decisions that have a big impact on your life, a legal impact or something similar, they can't be made by an AI on its own. The law is cementing your right to have a person review those decisions. It's all about making sure technology works for us, not the other way around.
So with all these prohibitions, the EU AI Act is really setting a precedent for the entire world, which leaves us with a really big question to chew on, right? As this technology gets more and more powerful, how are we as a society going to balance that constant push for innovation with the fundamental protections that, make us who we are?